because I rise to indicate that I will be voting no on the Vance Amendment. I will not be voting no for what I consider to be the irrational reasons of some of the people who are voting no for other reasons. I am voting no because this bill codifies in law the idea, which is already part of other laws, that taxpayer funds should not be used for abortion services. I disagree with that premise. I believe the taxpayer dollars should be used for abortion services. Abortion is a legal, constitutionally protected right, and it is health care that not only do women want and have a demand for, as we see by 40,000 abortions in Pennsylvania last year, but very often need in order to protect their life, needed in order to protect their health. When we say that no taxpayer money, no Medicaid, no Medicare, no taxpayer money of any kind will go to pay for abortion services, what we are saying is we are going to make abortion services unaffordable for poor women. What do we gain by making abortion services unaffordable for poor women? What happens if we do that is that women still need the services. Women still wind up in tragic situations. Women still wind up in desperate situations. Women still wind up in health and life-threatening situations. But without the coverage for the abortion services, they are forced to go to places where they can afford to get abortions that they cannot afford to get out of their own pocket, and abortions they cannot afford to pay for coverage for. And what happens? Well, we've seen, Mr. President, what happens in those cases. We saw recently in the case of the Gosnell case, which gained national notoriety, of the horrible conditions women were forced to go to get services from Mr. Gosnell. Now, why would a woman choose to go to someone like Gosnell? Or even worse, why would a woman choose to go to a back alley person? Why would a woman choose to go to someone who was unscrupulous? They would choose to do that, Mr. President, because they have no choice. If they had the choice to go to a safe, legal facility and have their services covered and have it in a way that was affordable to them, obviously every woman would do that. Especially when a woman's health is at risk. What is she supposed to do if she cannot get coverage that covers this? And that was what was defeated in the Schwenk Amendment. If she cannot get coverage that covers her abortion, even if her health is at risk, what is she supposed to do? This is a horrible dilemma that we have put women into. And if you don't want more Gosnells, if you have, spent a good deal of time in your districts or on television or in newspapers condemning the butchery of Gosnell, which I condemn as well, then you can't be for making it so women have no choice. You have to make it so women can get safe, legal abortions in this country. And if that requires them to be covered, that requires them to be covered. And if they get their health insurance from the government, as hundreds of thousands of women do in Pennsylvania, that's what they have to get. This is health care, again, that women need. Now, Mr. President, some will say, well, I don't believe in abortion. Why should I have to pay my tax dollars for that? And the fact is that we all have to pay tax dollars for things that we don't support. I was opposed to the Iraq War. I still had to pay for it. I am opposed to the death penalty. My tax dollars still go to pay for executions and the protocol, the hundreds of millions of dollars we spend every year on our machinery of capital punishment. I have been publicly opposed to some of the more insane manifestations of the war on drugs, but we're still spending $350 million a year of tax dollars, including my tax dollars, for that. And I understand that. I don't complain about that. I oppose the policies, but once we make a democratic decision to have a policy, we all have to pay for that policy. So the idea that we don't have to pay for things because we don't like them is just not consistent with any other area of the law. Mr. President, this policy, and I'm not speaking to the maker of the amendment, I know her intentions are, I know what her intentions are, and I respect them, but the broader policy of saying that we're just going to do everything we can to deny women, mostly poor women, access to this procedure, which they need in many cases. This is killing women, Mr. President. This is something that I don't know how we can have on our conscience. And so I will oppose the Mance Amendment to make a statement that when everyone gets up and says, well, of course, God knows we're not going to have no taxpayer dollars for abortion. No, we're not. I mean, someone needs to question that underlying policy. And that's what I intend to do with my no vote. Thank you, Mr. President.